Gavel.
I'm doing the gavel.
Do the
today.
gavel.
All right.
Okay.
Doing the gavel.
At least I. Actually gave us 6
I
months.
recommend letting somebody else turn their mic on. Before you gavel, don't you turn your mic on, let somebody else put the mic on, so they can turn it on, but turn your mic on and do it, it makes it really loud. So
Okay.
let somebody else have their mic,
Damn, if you're watching.
turn your mic on after you gavel.
I don't think anybody watches this. Okay,
What was that?
I'm calling to order the municipal authority meeting of August 19, 2024.
Now make sure your mic's on.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Off, we don't have to hear you.
We're just returning from an executive session of the board to discuss legal matters and personnel matters. At this point in time, we'll take a roll call. Maria Kane here. Thomas Greco.
Yeah.
Walter Virginis.
Here.
Tim Kelly.
Here.
Stephen Mackel.
Here.
All right, everybody's here. Also, we have Stephen Neese, our township manager, Dave Porter, and our engineer, and Mike Madron, our solicitor. At this time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? All right, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Walter.
Second.
Second from Tom. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, there's no members of the public here. I'm moving on from public comment. All right, everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from the July 15, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Tim. All right, any questions or comments? Any changes to those? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, treasurer's report. Steve, will you be providing that?
I don't have much of a treasurer's report tonight. We're still working on reconciling the July statements. And so as soon as I get that done, we'll get a report out to you. I will tell you that we seem to be doing fine. I did make the payment that you approved at the last meeting and had Maria sign off on it for the bond payment. And so we did take care of that. That'll kind of reduce our balance some actually here in August. But we're seeing the monies come in from the latest billing that went out in July, and that's happening now in August. So we're seeing that come through. So I think we're doing okay. It's just my person who's coming in and helping has only been coming in once a week for about 3 hours, and I need him more time than that. So.
Okay. Engineers report from Dave Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This month has been a little quiet just due to predominantly vacations and other folks being out of the office, but in short, the existing conditions plan for the Ross connection is underway. I'm told our CAD guys will have a plan in the next 2 weeks to be able to design that lateral connection. The landscaper quotes for replacement of wetland plantings that has been pushed to the fall. We have 2 landscapers that we're trying to get out to give us quotes. One's Nico, they actually specialize in wetland plantings and restoration. It's a contractor that is working on some projects in Tinicum Township, and then JB Landscaping, not JNB, it's JB Landscaping, not to be confused with the sewer contractor. We're trying to get them lined up to get out there to give us quotes for just assisting in the plantings for the replacement plantings this fall. The dioxide, quote. I have not gotten through that in entirety to make a recommendation to the authority, and that's totally on me. I understand I got to get that reviewed to make a recommendation. French Road, I've spoken with the property owners out there and did a little bit of research back through some of the prior correspondence, and was able to find a copy of the recorded easement for that sanitary sewer line, and some of the prior correspondence with the authority, that is evidence that that easement was signed by the prior property owner. So we've coordinated with that particular property owner on French Road to be able to complete the survey of the driveway. That's been done. Those points are going to be added to the plan. We'll create an exhibit for that potential access easement for that end of the sanitary sewer line. Just quick on the fog program, the Luigi and Giovanni caterers are continuing to provide O&M of their grease traps. However, the meeting back in April set forth guidelines and timeframes for responsiveness for hiring an MEP and having that evaluation completed under a certain amount of time, and they're well beyond that. So I'll be working with Newtown Codes on sending out citations for that particular owner. Stoney Knoll development, that's another agenda item under payments tonight. I believe it's payments. No, I'm sorry. Developer bond release. I won't get too much into that. Ellis Preserve, we're continuing with capacity consistency letters in coordination with Newtown Codes. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts out there, so it's been a little difficult to stay on top of, but you know, we're trying to get keep coordination open with Newtown Codes in that regard. Ellis Pump Station cranes. We have 2 quotes right now. We were unsuccessful to get 3 other contractors out to quote that repair. Most of the contractors are saying the job was too small and they just don't have the time and they're too busy to quote on something like that. So both quotes are pretty close in price. One for $9,800. That was JMC Contractors. And the other was Benchmark Site, who's actually the contractor that's doing the work for Stoney Knoll for the Polig development. And they quoted $9,950. So they're within $150 of one another. I'm trying to get one more quote. We are below the threshold for, I believe, written and telephonic quotes at this point. So I would recommend if we're unsuccessful in getting another one, we would go with the lowest quote in this regard. And that concludes my report for this month.
Okay, what about the bidding for the Westchester Pike? And wasn't there another one we're supposed to be doing bids on?
Yes, so there's actually a couple of them. French Road was one that we wanted to add in with that overall bid. The Dunwoody Westchester Pike Crossing was another one that we wanted to add in. And then there was also another ancillary sewer main repair at 126 Bryn Mawr Avenue that we wanted to add in. And 126 Bryn Mawr Avenue was another one that we tried to get several contractors out there and they said it's such a small job, they didn't even want to quote it. So it's something that we wanted to just roll into an overall bid package as, you know, one of the items and one of the areas that have to be addressed as part of that bid.
Is it also,
No, but that Bryn Mawr Avenue one, I'm really concerned about. Bryn
Yeah.
Mawr and Westchester Pike.
yeah, and it's also the Charlotte's.
And the one that
Yes.
Charlotte's, what is
Right.
it, like, I
So the
thought.
one at Charlotte's was the initial
Okay.
project that was bid. That was a replacement between, you know, 2 sanitary sewer manholes. There's a couple of sections of pipe that were replaced that are sort of in disrepair right now.
Yeah,
And then 126 Bryn Mawr is another area that we had a blockage that was resolved, but the pipe is in disrepair, so we want to replace that. Those we wanted to roll into one bid package.
right. And didn't we put a bid out and,
We did, yes,
and then, so it's basically ready to go. We just want to add the other
yes,
project to
correct,
it.
yes.
Can we have that done before the next meeting?
Probably, yeah, let me,
What's what are some of the impediments to getting it done before?
so I just want to make sure the authority understands on French Road. We're talking about the scope of the work on French Road and whether we want to do a full line replacement or whether we want to just add some accesses to that sanitary sewer line, because right now I believe it's a 4-inch diameter line that has 3 houses on it. So if we wanted to replace that line through the easement, may make sense to do that in entirety, that entire stretch, and go manhole to manhole.
Are you saying that you think it might be cost efficient to now add a third project to that bid?
No, it's
package?
just the scope of that project. So we're either
Oh,
going
okay.
to.
So
we're either-
you're thinking about us financially. We don't want to
Right.
take on that if it's going to turn out to be a much larger project than we originally
Right,
anticipated.
so on French Road, we definitely want to put a couple of accesses in along that line, right? So it's.
Yeah.
It's a 4-inch diameter sanitary sewer lateral that serves three houses through an authority easement. It's connected into the middle of a sanitary sewer main run with no access point to get in to maintain that line. So that's the challenge. The existing easement off of the end of French Road goes through kind of a wooded area down some, steeply sloped ground. To get to the bottom of that easement's relatively difficult. In order to access the upper portion of the line, you have to go through private property to get to it, or you have to go through the wooded area and then track all the way up through the rear of the residential dwellings to get to that point. So what I'm recommending the authorities explore an access easement through the one property just to get to the sanitary sewer system. Put either a larger clean out or a sanitary manhole at the very end to be able to access that line to get it cleaned out. And put a doghouse manhole at the other end where that junction is, so that that line can be accessed and cleaned out. If the authority has the ability to get in there, we could either take on a replacement at this point in time of that 4-inch line, so that it avoids the issue with getting, blockages, and if one owner puts a bunch of wipes or whatever down the line, a 6 or 8-inch line will allow that to flow a little bit better than, a 4-inch line would be. But there's a cost to it, right? So if we did.
And I'm just wondering, like, is there something more emergent with the issue we wanted to address at Charlotte's?
Yes.
And Bryn Mawr and Westchester Pike, in which case I'm wondering, should we be prioritizing those projects now? And French Road comes after that?
Sure, I mean, we could. Look, the
I mean, you're
Westchester,
the engineer, so
Yeah.
you have to tell us.
no, the
which ones-
Westchester Pike sewer replacement is definitely a priority.
Okay,
126 Bryn Mawr is also a priority because that pipe is sort of disjointed. It's unclear what the condition of the pipe is, but behind the residences along French Road. However, we have several reports that there have been blockages behind
yeah,
the residents
yeah,
there.
we've had a few
Um,
reports of that.
Right. So without knowing the full extent of what the condition of that pipe is, by default, those other projects are a priority because we know the condition, we know they have to be addressed.
Okay, so that being said, does it make sense that we just? I mean, I think we need to do this work on French Road, I get it, and it's continuing. But I think we need to get I think we need to kind of table that right now. Unless there's something, I don't want to do anything that doesn't make any sense
Yeah.
reasonably, administratively either, but.
Yeah, I think
we
my
ought to
biggest-
prioritize these other 2 projects.
I think my biggest concern is I know they're gonna turn around and be paving Westchester Pike here come fall.
Good point, yeah.
And I think in order for us to do the crossover, we're gonna have to dig up the road. Which means we're probably gonna be, and I don't know that that's not gonna be the case no matter what happens at this point, just because we haven't gotten it out. I mean, I think they're gonna be paving between now and the end of October. I don't know how I don't even think we'll award this before between now and the end of October.
Right.
Because you haven't authorized advertising.
Yeah, this is probably a spring 2025 project if I were to.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna be tearing up a road that we just put in, which I hate, but that's just where we are.
So what kind of time frame? Just so that we can kind of keep it in our, for getting the bid package out on.
What's the biggest issue with the French Road? What's the piece that's holding us up from just making, like, why can't we? I know we need to put the two cleanouts in,
Mhm.
one way or the other.
Right.
Why can't we bid this 6-foot or 6-inch or 8-inch pipe as an alternate
We can.
and move
We
forward
can.
and just go ahead and do
And
that? I know
if the price is too high, then the authority
Then
can
they
just
could just
not
not
award
choose
that
to do
portion.
that.
Yep, just
I-
do it
I
as
mean,
an
I-
alternate, yep.
But I think if we did it as 4 projects and one contractor, I would think it would be big enough.
Yes,
And we wouldn't get caught with the French Road one being too small. If we need an access easement, I think we get Mike involved here to get that access easement. We'd figure out which property owner makes the most sense. I think there's one whose driveway gets us within 20 feet or so of the
Yeah.
line.
Yep.
I just think we need to move that forward.
Yep. So between now and next month, I'll have a bid package pulled together for those 4 locations, for the Westchester Pike, the Dunwoody Crossing, 126 Bryn Mawr, and French Road.
Amazing.
Okay?
Okay. Great. Okay, those were my only questions or comments about the engineer's report. Did anybody have anything else?
No.
Okay, we're good then. Anything else, Dave, or did I cut you off?
No, that was it.
Okay. All right, then moving on, Steve, do we have an operation manager's report?
Yeah, I have a couple things for you this evening. First of all, you should have in your packet 2 RHM flows. As you
Yep.
will see, we continue to have a fair amount of I&I during rain events. It's easy to watch that happen, right? So we need to really continue our process of getting them out and, looking at the lines. RHM has been doing some of that for us, just as part of our contract with them and what they do for our services. We've also been working with KBX to do some as well. I'm going to work with George and actually start increasing the SR2 side, because the CDCA side, I think we actually are doing a little better with. And most of that's because $33 million worth of investment means that it's pretty new. Most everything was done just right around COVID start. And so, we do have some issues here back in the, what we call this spot back here, but right behind the township building. I just went brain dead on that. Heights, thank you. The Heights area and a little bit over down by Mary Jane and them. I know we have some in those areas that we need to look at, but the big issue is the SR2 side. So we're going to start putting more emphasis on that and doing that. But if you look at the report from KBX, obviously the bioxide situation is still there, and then that lift. But you can see that they had a couple alarms that they responded to in July. And I'm not 100% sure that one of the 2 power failures, I don't think there was a power failure in the area. I think it was just at the pump station. And so we're looking into why that happened. And so anyway, just know that we're still watching that. And doing that. So I think that's really it, but I wanted to.
Have some of our newer members, did you bring them out to show them all the different?
I was
stations?
waiting a little bit until we got through the heat of summer.
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking. Might be, we might want to start thinking about it between now and the next meeting.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, I was
Sure.
thinking we would do it probably after our next meeting
Okay.
in September, early October. It'll be a much nicer
I think
trip.
it'd be nice to have, when you see Hickory Lane, so you get a sense of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm more than happy. We'll get
Yeah.
everybody loaded up. George and I have talked about it. We think that we can do it in probably like 3 hours kind of thing. We'll just head out and go do them all.
Good.
And anybody that wants to go, we'll be glad to take you. If you haven't seen our pump stations, I think it's a good experience to experience from the smallest
Really.
one at Baker's Lane I think it handles what, 6 houses, something like that,
Something like that.
five houses. And you'll look at it and say, what's this? And the fence around it is bigger than everything about it, just about. And then you go to probably like Camelot, which is our biggest pump station.
Yeah.
And it's like an amazing place to walk into and you go, wow, I mean, it's that. It's worth the trip
No,
just
I
to
think
see
they need to see
how
it,
varied they are. Even the one at like Hickory is, when you go to it, it's in somebody's backyard. I mean, and so it's a really good experience to kind of go through a couple of those and see what we have. And know what it is when we start talking about these pump stations. So
Yeah.
we'll get that set,
I just didn't
mid-September.
want you to forget.
I have not forgotten. It's on my list. Actually, I was talking with somebody today about starting to reach out and get that scheduled. So we'll get it scheduled between late September and early October. It will smell much better and it will feel much better when it's not in the heat.
As long as it's not raining.
Sounds good. Okay. All right, let's move on then to item number 9. All right, consider approving the bills on check register A dated August 19, 2024, totaling $237,056.51. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Walter.
Second.
Second from Tom. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Next, consider approving invoice number 202405015 totaling $460 to MacCombie Engineers for Part 2 permit associated with the 537 Public Sewer Project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Second from Walter. Thank you. Did you have any comment? Did you want to know what that was in particular? Was that an older invoice? It's not a bad question. I think there was some older invoice that got missed or something. That might not
It
be
was a
accurate.
May invoice, but I think what I would make note of, and we need to kind of determine this, the bond money is all been used up, right?
Right.
I'm still charging Dave's time that's related to the project,
Gotcha.
We're kind of getting to the wrap-up spot here. I don't think there's a lot of things that are really outstanding. At some point, we want to stop doing that. And because I don't know that we really want to be capitalizing engineering expenses on a project that we've kind of had fully up and operational at this point. And, we could stop that. And that's the reason why you keep approving this. You can see the amount's been pretty low. I would guess we probably have about $10,000, potentially more worth of charges to finish out the project. And Dave, is that a good estimate? Maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And like I commented earlier, it's things like the wetland restoration plantings that we have to come out. We're obligated to continue to do reporting for a certain number of years after that. But I agree with Steve. At some point, it makes sense to just transition that to a regular SR3 invoice. I did want to comment, Steve, that this particular invoice, I think, was the result of an overpayment, a double payment
Yeah,
that we handed the check back to the
and we
authority.
processed it
Yes,
again.
right.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure, I mean, we're still doing that, but I would say that if it's not closed out by the end of the year, I would say at the end of the year, we just want to close it. If you're comfortable with that, we'll keep it open until the end of the year, but anything beyond going into next year, I'm going to treat the project as closed. And then I don't have to worry about tracking it as capital, and the auditor will be happier with me because I'm not tracking it as capital. And so if that's okay with you.
You don't have any problem with that, Mike, as far as 537 plan? Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right, moving on.
I think you still need to call a vote.
Oh,
Yeah, you
all
do.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, next, consider approving the municipal authority sewer improvements escrow release number 2 for Stoney Knoll in the amount of $70,359. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Steve,
Second.
second from Walter. And questions or comments on this? I think we need some information from Dave on this. Am I right? We'd appreciate it, or I
Sure.
would.
Yeah,
anyway.
so-
Just briefly tell us what this is about.
This is the second of of the bond reduction or actually, I think it's the cash escrow reduction.
It is.
For Stoney Knoll. So they put up cash for financial security for the sanitary sewer improvements for that subdivision. They've since installed now all of the sanitary sewer low pressure force main. They've done the stream crossing. This particular release represents the completion of installation of the 3-inch diameter low pressure sanitary sewer main, air vacuum manholes, air release manholes, flushing stations, tracer wire for the location of the sanitary main, and temporary trench restoration. So they still have some items left. They have just about $40,000 left in financial security. And that represents low pressure sanitary sewer testing, which actually has been underway, permanent trench restoration and as-built plans for the system. There's also $21,000 of contingency money that's part and parcel of that $40,000.
Okay. All right. Anybody else with any questions on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right, next, sewage capacity allowance request for single-family dwelling being built on existing vacant lot at 214 4th Avenue. So we need a motion to approve the capacity allowance
Yeah,
request.
so I think what we probably need is I probably should read it. We need to engage our alternate engineer
Right,
to give you a recommendation. And so the reason for that is MacCombie Engineering is actually the one who's the property owner's engineer in this case. And so there'd be a conflict for them to be the one that approved it. So if it's okay with you, we're going to engage the third party. So this is just really an authorization for me to work with staff and the alternate engineer to do what we need to do so we can get you an actual request.
all right, so we'll table this item.
Well, I think I'd like you to,
Make the authorization.
What's authorization?
To engage the alternate engineer.
You want to vote on that then?
yes, please.
Okay, so we'll just change this motion to authorize our operations manager to engage the alternate engineer in order to review the capacity allowance request for 214 4th Avenue. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Second from Walter. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next we request for a relief from charges related to a sewer bill totaling $327.83 from non-use of service for 304 Arthur Court. Before we discuss this, can we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Do I hear a second?
Second. No.
Second from Tim. And could we have some background information on
Yeah,
this?
so this is a gentleman who, my understanding is, he went away and his grass cutting guy cut his hose. That I guess he left charged and hadn't turned the water off to the hose. So therefore, when he cut the hose, the water ran from his hose while he was gone. I think it was like maybe a week or two, and so it was significant increase of amount of water used over the period of time. He didn't realize it was cut, I don't think right away. And so his bill was about double, a little over double what it normally is. He's asked to just basically cut the bill in half and pay half of it, which is about not far off what he normally pays as his bill.
Well, I mean, we have a motion and a second on the table, so I'm fine with this. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about giving the half, provided you get some evidence that in fact there's been either a statement from the landscaper, so someone other than the homeowner, or some photographs that you feel reasonably verify the homeowner's story. Just so that we're not setting a precedence for just taking these stories and not Because we do have a policy for, you know, I mean, just to put on the record, we do have a policy for, you know, use that doesn't get put into, you know, water, wastewater that doesn't enter our system. We have a policy for that. You can get a second meter. This is kind of an accident kind of a thing, or a leakage type thing, which I think moving forward, we should handle on a case-by-case basis. With our operations manager or some other dedicated employee coming to us and asking for us. So, I mean, that's my position. So I think subject to getting that backup information, I'm in favor of it, but I'm more than willing to hear everybody else's position.
Well, here's the thing, you think it's fixed though, so maybe we just need a letter from the landscaper, because I'm sure it's fixed already, so I'm sure there's not a.
Yeah.
That's a
Right.
very good point, Tim. I like
Thank
that.
you. Thank
That,
you very
you know, when we give these types of things, that we also have something documented that the problem has been resolved. You know, it needs to be, there
Don't you
need,
fix this one by turning off the hose?
yes, I get it. But I'm just saying we need, we don't, just so that when the person comes next week, it's like,
Right.
okay, we've documented, there's no more leaking. And we've got a timestamp on that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I struggle with this. Turn the hose off, forget the contractor to pay for the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have any assurance that they didn't go after the lung cutter?
I mean, I only have somebody's word. I have no way of knowing.
What
I
if we
mean,
just
unless
said
we
no?
just, huh?
What if we just said no?
Well, I mean, you can, that's, you know, that's your prerogative.
It's
as
an
the board.
outstanding bill at this point, right? They
Yeah.
haven't paid it yet?
I believe I'd have to look to see whether they paid it, or we're gonna reimburse them, or if they haven't paid at all. I'm not sure. Some people just pay it and because they don't want any late fees in case you say no.
Right.
Other people are waiting
Good
to
point.
see what that is. And I don't remember on this one. I've been dealing with about 4 of them this week that I think are gonna probably come on your next one for other issues. But I keep trying to get people just to move on unless it's a real serious amount of money.
Okay, well, I think we have a motion and a second on the table. I think we ought to just take a vote. And Steve, you know, we can all just vote you know, vote our conscience. Yes. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
Nay
No.
from, okay, we got a nay from Steve
No.
and a nay from Walter. So it does pass. I don't think we needed,
No.
Never need a roll call.
did not need a roll call on that. Okay. All right, moving on. And maybe that's something we talk about in the future, maybe doing a policy for accidental
Totally agree.
situations. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. We should all be on the same page. Okay. Next, consider reducing, I think that's an error on this one. It's consider reducing, a bill, I guess.
I think it's considered directing staff
Direct,
to adjust.
considered, just the way this motion should read is consider directing staff to adjust the second quarter 2024 bill of the sewer fee for 4232 Fairview Avenue. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Second from Walter. All right, any questions or comments on this one? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any old business? No public here for public comment, and therefore, at this stage, we adjourn this meeting.